My wife vanished in the jungle. 10 days later, she returned looking 30 years younger. But she wasn't the woman I married. Slight pause, and when I tried to uncover what happened to her. The forest punished me. I wasn't supposed to be there, not in that forest, not in that country, not at that point in my life. But science is a stubborn god. And when it calls, you follow, even if it leads you into hell. My name is Dr. Elijah Walker. I'm a biochemist, 48 years old. Born and raised in Minnesota, I've spent the last 2 decades hunting medicinal plants across the globe, some rare, some extinct, and some that shouldn't exist. That's what brought me and my wife, Ruth, to Bangladesh. The plan was simple: collect samples from the Sundarbans, the largest mangrove forest in the world. I'd received word from a local botanist that a specific species of moss, one believed to have regenerative properties, had been spotted in a remote part of the forest. We booked a private expedition, just me, Ruth, and a guide named Manik. I'd been to the Amazon. I'd seen dangerous terrain, but this place was different. The trees seemed older, heavier, like they remembered things. The air was thick, not just with humidity but with something else. Something. Watching the boat ride took for hours. We arrived at a small shack built on stilts at the edge of the jungle. No electricity, no signal, just lanterns, tin roofs, and jungle sounds that never stopped. Manik, our guide, was a small, wiry man in his 60s. He barely spoke English, but the fear in his eyes didn't need translating. He kept pointing at a part of the map, muttering the same phrase over and over. Iijege jabin now. Oi kane shamai thik moto chol na. Don't go there. Time doesn't flow right there. Ruth laughed it off. He's just trying to spook us. But that night, while we tried to sleep, I heard Manik whispering to someone outside, praying, asking the forest for permission. It happened on the 3rd day. We'd been walking for hours, collecting samples. The heat was unbearable. Ruth, who'd been patient until then, snapped. I told you this would be too much, she said, swatting at mosquitoes. You said it would be a quick trip. We're close, I replied, not looking at her. The moss is here. I can feel it. You care more about some plants than me, Elijah. I turned to respond, but she was already walking away, not angrily, just quietly, like she was being pulled by something. Manik shouted after her in Bengali. He was terrified. He grabbed my arm so hard it hurt. She's going the wrong way, he said. The trees changed there. People, don't come back. I ran after her. But by the time I reached the bend in the path, she was gone. We searched for hours. Then days. We called the forest department. A rescue team came. Drones were sent. Nothing. 10 days passed. I was numb, broken. Ruth was gone. I was about to call it off and go home when she walked out of the forest. It was early morning. Mist hung low across the clearing. I was drinking tea when I saw her. She stepped out from between 2 trees, barefoot. Her clothes were torn, stained with mud. Her hair was tangled, but her face. It wasn't my wife's face. It was her face. 30 years ago. Young, smooth, no wrinkles, no gray. Ruth? I whispered. She looked at me like I was a stranger. Elijah, she said, confused. You look old. I ran to her, held her. She was real. Her fingerprints matched. Her voice was the same, but everything else. She said it was 1986. She didn't remember our children, didn't remember our house in Vermont, didn't remember growing old. She thought we were still dating. She even asked if I'd proposed yet. Manik wouldn't come near her. He called her a jinn shadow. I didn't believe in that. I'm a man of science, but that night, while she slept, I noticed something strange. She didn't breathe. Her chest didn't rise. I checked her pulse. It was there barely, but cold. Ice cold. And then, just before sunrise, she whispered something in her sleep. It wasn't English. It wasn't Bengali. It was a language I didn't recognize. Guttural, ancient, whispered like wind through dead leaves. I recorded it on my phone. I played it back the next morning. And in the background of the audio was the sound of trees laughing. Asterisk, she looked like my wife, only 30 years younger, but she didn't remember our life, our kids, our marriage. Pause, and every night she spoke in a dead language. A language I've never heard before. I was starting to believe this wasn't my wife at all. She made coffee the next morning. Just like Ruth always did, measured the grounds by hand, boiled the water, let it steep for exactly 4 minutes. She even hummed the same tune, an old Tracy Chapman song, one she used to play when we were younger, but something was off. Her movements were too fluid, too precise, like she wasn't remembering how to do it, just repeating it perfectly, like a machine that had watched her too many times. I tried to talk to her. Really talk? I asked about our wedding. She blinked. I don't think we're married. She sighed with a shy laugh. Are we? I asked about the birth of our son, Jack. Her smile faded. Elijah, you're scaring me. I've never been pregnant. When we got back to Dhaka, I took her to a hospital. MRI, blood tests, cognitive exams. Everything came back normal except one thing. Her blood showed no signs of aging. None. Her biological age was 23. Exactly the age Ruth had been when we met. How long was she gone? The doctor asked. 10 days. I said. He looked at me like I'd told a joke. Sir, this woman has the blood chemistry of someone who hasn't aged in decades. That's impossible unless he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. I couldn't sleep that night. I pulled out our old photo albums, our wedding pictures, the birth of our kids, trips to Alaska, Morocco, Paris. I showed her each one. Nothing. She'd smile politely, ask questions, but her eyes were empty, like she was watching a stranger's life. Then I opened a folder on my laptop, one I hadn't touched in years. It was a home video, Ruth's 50th birthday. She was dancing with our daughter in the kitchen, flour on her nose, her laughter echoing through the room. I turned the laptop toward her. Do you remember this? She watched it in silence, then whispered, That's not me. I remembered the audio recording, the one I'd taken that first night when she spoke in her sleep. I opened the file, played it again. There it was, her voice, speaking in that strange, broken language. And behind her softly trees creaking, wind whistling, and something that sounded like laughter, low, deep, not human. I ran the audio through a language recognition tool. It found no matches, no dialect, no tribal root, no ancient base. Just one flag popped up. Pattern anomaly detected. Backward phonetic structure. I reversed the audio. This time, I heard words, clear, chilling. He followed me. He will follow you too. The forest keeps what it gives. 2 days later, she found her old diary. Or so she said. She handed it to me like a child showing a parent a secret. The cover was the same as her original, brown leather with her name etched in silver. But inside, the pages were filled with symbols, drawn in ink, spirals, lines, glyphs. Not English, not Bengali, not even Sanskrit. Some of the symbols looked alive. I swear, as I stared at them, I felt something move behind my eyes. She giggled. I've been dreaming again, she said. The forest wants me to remember out of desperation. I returned to the village where she vanished. I met an old man, Imam Hassan, keeper of the local mosque. When I told him what happened, he didn't blink. He lit a lantern, sat me down, spoke quietly. You walked into a place you should not have. Some call it Baiporatban, the reversed forest. Others call it the Seshanshar, the last realm. He handed me a faded sketch. A woman smiling, young. Do you know her? I asked. He nodded. She walked into the trees in 1962, but that would make her. He cut me off. She came back in 1997. Same face, same youth, but she burned in the sun. Birds would not come near her. And she forgot her own name. Back in the hotel, I watched her sleep again. At exactly 2:03 a.m., she sat up, not slowly, not gradually, just sat up like she was waiting. I stayed perfectly still. She turned her head, looked straight at me, but her eyes were all black. No iris, no white, just black. And then she smiled. "Elijah," she said in a voice not hers. "Do you miss your wife?" I couldn't speak. She leaned forward, whispering. She said yes. "That you could stay. Stay where?" I asked. Her smile widened. "In the soil." The next morning, she was normal again, laughing, cooking breakfast, hair tied back with the same ribbon she wore the day she vanished. "Did you sleep okay?" she asked. I stared at her. Then at her shadow on the wall. It wasn't moving. The fan above us spun. Her hand stirred eggs, but the shadow stood perfectly still. Unmoving. And then it turned its head slowly to face me. She was back, but her shadow moved on its own. The forest didn't just take time. It twisted it, paused, and the deeper I searched for answers, the more I realized I wasn't just losing her. I was losing myself. I didn't tell her about the shadow. What was the point? She'd smile, make breakfast, ask if I wanted toast or tea, and I'd pretend nothing was wrong, because deep down, I knew it wasn't her anymore, or worse. Maybe she really was Ruth, and something else came back with her. I started recording her, secretly, every night. Each video showed the same thing. She'd fall asleep around 10:30 p.m., but at 2:03 a.m. sharp, her eyes would open. And then she'd whisper. Not words, not sentences, just vibrations. Like the trees from the Sundarbans were still speaking through her. One night, I played the audio backward again and heard this. The roots remember. The soil binds, he digs, he finds. I didn't sleep at all that night. I went back to Imam Hassan, begged him to tell me more. He hesitated, then handed me an old, cracked book written in Bengali and Sanskrit. The cover had one word carved deep into the leather. Banashir the forest god. He flipped to a page and showed me a crude drawing, a tree, with a woman hanging from its branches by her hair. Below, men worshipping it. Some call it folklore, he said, but old families here, they still leave offerings. Why? I asked. He looked me dead in the eye. Because the forest remembers everything you take, and always takes something back. I went home and searched through my digital photos, tagged locations, timestamps, metadata. Then I found one from Ruth's phone. It was dated 3 days after she vanished. She stood in front of a banyan tree, smiling. Her eyes were glowing not from sunlight, but from within. The caption read, "Elijah, the tree said yes." But here's the thing, I never took that photo. We had no signal out there. She didn't have her phone when she came back. Hassan finally told me about the Banaraksha, the forest guardians. Not people, not ghosts, something in between. Left behind by those who entered the reversed forest, but never fully returned. To free Ruth, he said, I'd need to bring her back to the tree, at the exact spot where she vanished. And then I'd need to perform a ritual. Alone. No lights, no voice, just dig and wait for what the forest offers. Return to the Sundarbans 3 days later. We arrived. I didn't tell Ruth why. I said I wanted closure. One last hike before going home. Manic refused to go. So it was just me and her. She held my hand as we walked through the familiar overgrowth. The place where I lost her felt colder. The trees were taller, almost. Leaning in, she stayed near the trail. I stepped into the dense brush, found the tree, the same one from the photo. I dug beneath its roots with my hands. The dirt was soft. Too soft, it felt like flesh. Then I hit something. Wood? No, bone. I uncovered a human hand, thin, feminine, still wearing Ruth's wedding ring. I stared, frozen. Behind me, I heard a voice. You weren't supposed to dig. I turned. She stood there. Eyes blank, no fear, no confusion, just stillness. What is this? I asked, Who are you? She smiled, but it wasn't Ruth's smile. I'm what you asked for, she said. You cried to the trees. You begged. You said, bring her back. I stepped back. You're not her. No, she agreed. I'm you, your memory of her, your grief, your regret. She looked down at the bones. That was Ruth. She stayed. She fed the roots. She belongs now. I fell to my knees. She knelt with me, but I can be her if you stay. Just say yes. She reached at her hand. Her skin cracked, not like a wound but like tree bark. Thin green moss spread from her wrist to her shoulder. Say yes, she whispered, and forget. We can be happy again. Behind me, the tree began to hum. The forest was alive, watching and waiting for my answer. Asterisk, he said she could be my wife again. If I just said yes. But beneath the tree, I'd already found Ruth's body, bones wrapped in moss, wedding ring still on her hand. So who? Or what had I brought back? I didn't say yes, not yet. But I didn't say no either. I just stood there, knees in the dirt, staring at the bones of the woman I loved. And the thing beside me, wearing her face, wearing her voice. I felt like I was standing between two mirrors, both showing Ruth, but in different timelines. One full of love, the other full of lies. We returned to the outpost in silence. She never asked what I found. She just watched me. Like a predator waiting to see if its prey had figured it out. That night, she crawled into bed beside me, wrapped. Her arms around me. Her skin felt like cold bark. But her voice. It was still Ruth's, still soft. I'm here. You brought me back. Why are you still afraid? The next morning, the truth showed itself in daylight. We were walking through a clearing when the sun broke through the clouds. She gasped. Then screamed. Her skin started blistering. Not like a sunburn, like dry, cracking bark catching fire. She ran to the shadows, curled under a fallen tree, panting, trembling. They didn't tell me it would burn. I didn't ask who they were. I was too busy watching the black sap leak from her eyes. That evening, I returned to the tree. Alone, I dug again, deeper. Found a rusted metal box buried beside the bones. Inside. Ruth's real journal. The last entry was dated 2 days before she disappeared. Elijah is obsessed. He doesn't listen anymore. But this forest, it listens to me, the trees respond. I hear them whisper at night. Then there was a final, separate page. Dried in blood, they said I could have my youth back. But everything has a cost. If I say yes, they'll make me forget him. They'll give me time, but take love back. At the shack, I saw it, a second set of footprints. Not hers, mine, the exact pattern, exact size. But facing the wrong way, like I had walked backward, in my own tracks. The forest wasn't just twisting time. It was rewriting reality. I hung a small mirror beside the bed. The next morning, I watched as she walked past it and didn't cast a reflection. But when she smiled, the mirror did. The reflection smiled 2 seconds late. That night, I asked her a final question. What did you trade to come back? She paused. Not what, who, I whispered. Who did you trade? She leaned in, kissed my cheek, and whispered, you. The next morning, I found a hole behind the shack. Deep, circular, fresh. Inside, scraps of fabric. My jacket, my boots. My journal. Everything. As if I had already been buried. I screamed. The trees echoed the scream back at me, but reversed. Imahajil, Elijah. Like it was mocking my name. That night, she stood over me while I pretended to sleep. She whispered something. I'll never forget. Tomorrow, you'll forget too. Just like I did, the forest will keep our love forever. And we'll both be young again. She kissed my forehead, and for the first time, I felt bark growing where her lips touched. She said I could stay with her, forever young. The forest offered me peace, time, love. Everything I lost, but all I had to do was forget who I really was, and I didn't know if I wanted to remember anymore. I hadn't. Slept in 3 days. The lines between dream and memory had blurred. Was I still a scientist? Still a husband? Still a man? Or was I already dead? And this was the forest's final trick. I touched the bark growing along my cheek. It had spread from where she kissed me, thin, green, vein-like, almost beautiful, just like her. She sat with me beneath the tree where it all began. Same tree. Same moss, same air that felt like it was washing every breath. We don't have to go back, she said, not to America, not to pain, not to growing old. She held my hand. Her skin was soft now, warmer, almost human again. We can stay. Let the forest keep us, you and me, forever. I looked into her eyes. They weren't black anymore. They were Ruth's. That night, I had a dream. I stood in our home, Vermont, our old kitchen. Jack ran to me, arms outstretched. He was 12 again, alive. Ruth stood by the stove. The real Ruth, 53, wrinkled, glowing. You left me, she whispered. You followed something wearing my face. I cried. I just wanted you back, I said. She touched my face. Then why didn't you let me go? When I woke up, I was already holding a shovel. The ground was loose. Too easy. I didn't remember walking there. But somehow I was digging. The tree loomed behind me, watching, and she, the young Ruth, stood beside it. It's easier if you don't fight, she said. The forest only asks for one thing, memory. I stopped digging. Will I remember Jack? No, our wedding. No, my real Ruth. She smiled sadly. Only me? I pulled something from my pocket. A locket Ruth had given me on our anniversary. Inside, a photo of her and Jack, laughing, real, alive. I showed it to her. Do you know what this is? She stared. Her face cracked, literally. Hairline fractures formed on her skin. Sap dripped from her eyes. That's not me, she said. That's not who we are now. No, I said, it's who I am. And who you were. I lit the locket on fire, not because I hated it, because I knew the forest hated fire. The flames caught fast, dry roots, dry memories, dry lies. She screamed, a sound not from a throat, but from the forest itself. The trees shook. The sky turned black. And suddenly, I wasn't standing in one forest anymore. I was standing in all the forests I'd ever walked at, all the lives I'd ever lived. The forest showed me every moment I'd ever forgotten, and everyone it wanted to erase. I woke up in Vermont. Alone. In our house, old, dusty. Jack's drawings still on the fridge. Ruth's photo on the nightstand. She was gone. For real this time. No young Ruth, no shadow. Just silence, and a ring of dirt on the bedsheet where someone or something once lay. I don't know if I escaped, or if the forest let me go. Sometimes, I still hear her voice at 2:03. A datum. Sometimes, I wake up with bark under my fingernails, and sometimes, I want to go back, because love doesn't die, it just takes root, and waits.